Hey, Mikey!
What's going on, baby?
If it wasn't for Arsenal getting the 3 points, the amount of technical difficulties we keep having with this pod.
We're trying to expand into new media, into new horizons, and make this pod a more enjoyable experience with new guests. And when you're doing video with new guests and you don't know whether their computers are gonna cooperate and bandwidth and all that, it's a challenge. So bear with us. Thank God last week worked out, because
I
God damn
tell
it, was
you
that a
what,
treat.
Lewis.
The other element of the pod today is that we're just going to have random guests popping in. We've asked some of our buddies to join us because our original guest today.
Hold on, I'll be back. Hold on.
Oh,
Lewis is at a party.
We got people at parties. We got people that are going to be naked by the end of the show.
No, I'm not naked. Don't worry. I have a shirt on. I'm at the pub.
The pub. Welcome, Lewis, to the pub. And Lewis, first time on the podcast, unless you watched the awful non-podcast that we did a few weeks ago. But anyway, we were going to have Jack Stevenson on, aka Jack Truth, quality guy. Enjoyed talking to him, except the problem was you could only hear every other word he was saying on audio. So we're going to try to fix that and have Jack join us another time. But Andy, last week, man, what a treat that was.
Yeah, to have an Arsenal legend on it was outstanding, and he was such a gentleman. He gave us more time than he thought he had, and it was just wonderful. And
we took more time from him.
We took more time, yeah. So hopefully people went out and bought his book and are interested in his story. I certainly got it on iBook from my iPad, and I'm heading to the mountains this weekend, Mike, where I'll get to read it. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I just wish everyone could have seen the video. I mean, we were able to see him, looking all regal in his home, and somehow only the audio came through when we posted it on YouTube. But just listening to Smudge is infinitely better than to not.
Yes.
So I think for the 200th episode, I'm laying the foundation to start talking to Herbert Chapman's people. So just stay tuned for that. Lee. Lee. We don't have a Lee.
Lewis.
God damn it, Lewis. What pub are you at right now?
Say that again?
What pub are you at right now?
I am in a pub called The Viaduct in, where is it? Hamwell.
Hamroll? Isn't that what Troops calls people?
Hamwell. Hanwell.
Okay. I thought there was an actual city that he's always talking about.
No.
All right, so let's just cut straight to the game. We've gotten 3 points from Cardiff, and we may still have another guest or two joining us. We'll get right into it. There was a tweet from Jack, and again, who was supposed to join us today, saying that he thought Ramsey and Torreira would definitely get a start today ahead of Mesut and Guendouzi, as well as Danny Welbeck on the flanks. I know he's a gambling man, but I hope he didn't put any money on that one, because it was check-in goal, which we'll talk about in a minute because we kind of have to. The back six, if you will, was unchanged from last week, which again leaves Torreira on the bench. We'll talk about that as well. But the men at the top, Mkhitaryan sits. Iwobi was out of the starting 18 altogether. Lewis, I hear that he was caught drinking fruit juice in the showers, which is a big no-no. you can't be doing that. But a gangbusters attacking four. Lacazette and Abba finally starting together. Ramsey in the 10, and Ozil gets his spot back, but on the flank, not in his preferred location. So, we've seen how it worked out. But Lewis, what are your thoughts about the way we set up today? What were your thoughts before the game started?
Well, when it was nice to see Lacazette and Aubameyang in the same format, same team, same starting 11. I mean, Ozil to come straight back in, he must have grovelled a lot to Unai Emery to get back in. Yeah, we didn't. I don't know. It was like how could I describe it? It was like almost conservative a little bit in the first half. I found.
Andy.
And I don't know. Like we still keep getting exposed down the flanks.
Yeah, the defense today, obviously, anytime you give up 2 goals to a team that previously incapable of even getting close to scoring a goal, that's a bad sign. Welcome to the pod, Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk. Good to see you as well, although you seem like you're in another world. This one's as professional as last week was. This one is bringing us back to our roots right now. So, Andy, I'll go to you.
I thought, for me, this season has been kind of weird. The first 2 matches against such good opposition, I don't think we saw the best out of Mkhitaryan. So to see him dropped, I'm not surprised. I agree with Lewis a little bit. For Ozil just to get back in the squad right away seemed a bit strange, but I thought Ozil the first half was a little bit off, and then I really enjoyed seeing him track back in the second and start some link-up play, and it's great to see Lacazette and Aubameyang actually on the same pitch together away from the Emirates, and so long may it continue. I thought Lacazette today, for me, was outstanding. His one-touch play around the box, setting up. I mean, he could have had 2 or 3 goals. But yeah, the 11's a weird one. I think he's still trying to play with it. And I think for now, we're not going to see Torreira until he gets that English. But you know what, Mike? We're seeing players who are getting 20 minutes come on and prove that they should be in this starting 11. And we haven't seen that a lot previous seasons. Lacazette, the first couple matches, would come on and prove he should be there. Torreira's doing the same. I'm a little nervous with Guendouzi, however the fuck you say his name. But, Tom, what did you think of the starting 11?
Hi, boys, by the way. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm assuming you can. Good stuff. It was intriguing because I assumed that based upon Guendouzi's performance in the last game against West Ham that he might get taken out the firing line, but that's not what happened, and we saw him make his 4th consecutive start, which is great for the guy, and it is an impressive start. But I really thought Torreira would have been the guy to come in against Cardiff, especially considering our away record in 2018 has been, well, dire, and that's obviously going back into the Wenger era again, but still, you want to be secure, you want to be sound, and when you're going to play Xhaka against a side like Cardiff, who showed last season when their promotion season, the Championship, they are a threat. They can score a lot of goals, although they have not done it in the Premier League this season until today. But I thought against Cardiff, we definitely see Torreira starting with Xhaka to be more secure. We didn't. It was great to see Lacazette and Aubameyang finally start together. You saw that combination working really well. There's a clear camaraderie between the pair. And to see Ozil come in after last week and a lot of controversy around his omission from the side, I thought that he was instrumental in the goal, obviously put us 2-1 up, rather. And when Aubameyang had that absolutely brilliant curling effort into the mid right-hand corner. And after that point, I thought we were going to be more offensive, but we didn't. We did our thing where we sit back and invited pressure, and eventually we conceded again. But it was the man that we've all been calling out to start for ages in Lacazette that hit that Lacazette boom straight into the top right-hand corner.
Oh, absolutely. It was a beautiful goal, and we'll get to that. But, Mike, I got to go to something, right? Because
I love this comment.
When you look at the scope of football and how much money is put into it and how much time and effort's put into it, what's up with Cardiff's terrible shirt sponsor? It's not even a logo. It's just text telling us to visit.
It was like someone wrote that on the shirt.
Seriously, it's like someone just went, Times New Roman, that'll be fine. And it was printed on, and it isn't as terrible as Czech's inability to pass out of the back, because it is woeful.
It is, but it's not even so much the text and the lameness of the shirt sponsor. It's why are all these shirt sponsors so bossy all of a sudden? It's like fly Emirates. No, I mean I can't. I'm not going to Dubai. Visit Malaysia. Visit Rwanda. Fuck, I don't want to. Stop telling me what to do. I mean it's ridiculous. And then the text. I mean, my God, you could have at least gone with a nice like Arial or
put it Calibri light, or maybe make it italic. I don't know. Just do something.
They don't have enough money for italic in Cardiff, apparently. But yeah, check. I mean, 1 minute into the game, and he pulls what's now known as an Alisson Becker. Then 8 minutes into the game, he pulls a Petr Cech, which is you pass the ball directly to Cesc Fabregas or whoever you're playing against. I mean, this playing from the back business is making my colitis flare up. That's the least of what it's doing. I mean, it's one thing. It's one thing to like take a while to adjust to a new system, and I get that. But I mean, if we're gifting the opposition 1 or 2 opportunities or goals a game, I mean, how is that going to work, Lewis?
Well, yeah. And Lewis, let me ask you this, right? So Mike brought up a good question. The system is new, but the guy's 36 years old, 37 years old. Should he not already be comfortable playing with his feet? I mean, that's not something that you're going to learn this late in life, right? You either have it at this point or you don't.
Which is very true. I, as you said that, I was thinking exactly the same thing. You know, a goalkeeper that is experienced as Peter Cech should know how to play football with the ball at his feet. And every time they passed it back to him, I had mini heart attacks because he takes that little touch and then he waits and then he waits and then he waits and then he waits and then before you know it, the striker's already closing him down and then he's playing the team into trouble when sometimes it's just better just to clear your lines and regroup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And the commentators over here in the U.S. had just said that after I think the third misplaced pass, you know, maybe it's with Leno being younger, newer, they want to give him a couple games in the Europa League before he takes over. And I'll be honest, I think Cech, the first couple matches, has saved our asses a couple times. The scorelines could have been quite different. But if we're going to implement this new system, we got to make sure our keeper can play with both feet. Not everyone can be Manuel Neuer, but you know, you also can't be a first-time footballer. Let's go to the first goal. Mustafi breaks away from his mark and connects with a nice header. The only thing that would have made this goal better, Tom, is if Xhaka hadn't fucked up so much. I mean, how much
we have 2 of the biggest Xhaka lovers on
I'm not, hey, and I think Tom will echo this. Xhaka was at fault and is at fault a lot, but we can't just keep, every time something goes wrong, we can't just keep pounding him being the mistake because it was a beautiful corner. It beats the first defender, which we don't see happen very often in today's game, but I mean, brilliant position on the ball and an excellent Mustafi goal.
Yeah, 2 of the key scapegoats combining to form that goal in Arsenal in Xhaka and Mustafi. It was a fantastic delivery. I love how you highlighted it being the first man because obviously at Arsenal, beating the first man has been the biggest issue we've had since losing our biggest players every summer. It's an absolute joke how we don't manage to do it in close range free kicks and etc. But it's what I've said that Mustafi is capable of for so long. He's good at getting up high. He's good at making connections with his head to either it's a defensive clearance or it's a shot on goal from a corner. That is one of his best artilleries in his arsenal. And I just feel that if we can get those corners happening more often, that's a key part of our game. Seasons have gone by where Arsenal and set-piece goals have been going hand in hand, and we've been up there as one of the highest scorers in the league of set-piece goals. And if we can maintain that record going through this new Unai Emery era, it's going to be a massive weapon for us to use over and over again. I just hope that we can consistently get it over that first man, because if we can't, then there's no hope whatsoever.
Mike, do you feel like
weapons, Andy? Where did Mustafi used to play? What league?
I know exactly what's coming in.
Let's not feed the beast. So, Mike, speaking of Mustafi, I thought he played really well. Cut out some really great through passes. I thought he was confident. This goal hopefully will raise his confidence. I mean, this can only do justice for Mustafi, because on the 2 goals, I don't think he was to blame. Maybe on the second he could have done a little, or the first he could have done a little more. But this is a confidence boost, right?
Yeah, both goals were obviously Xhaka's fault. Although I actually think one of them was. But
the second goal was Monreal's fault.
No, we'll get there. It can't be Monreal's fault because he's Ballon d'Or winner. Are you here, Andy, to say that Mustafi is the best offensive-minded center half of all time? I mean,
absolutely. But
that's basically what we're dealing with.
He's a step below Sergio Ramos.
I don't even think so. I think Sergio Ramos, he's a lot less of a dick, that we know that much. So The beginning of the game was just frenetic. It was crazy. A lot of out of sorts stuff in the back. Lots of defensive errors. Could have been 5-3 at halftime, as far as I was concerned. But it also seemed like Cardiff was kind of taking a page from the Troy Deeney cojones school of how to beat Arsenal, and just trying to kick and shove our players into submission. But I mean, Lewis, we're not falling for that shit anymore, are we?
No, and it was nice to see that we was battling and giving as good as we got today. It was quite refreshing to see, an Arsenal team that are actually up for the fight and up for the nastier side, the uglier side of the game. It was nice.
It's because we have dicks. It's because we have Lichtsteiner on the bench, riling these guys up. That's what it is.
Well, but it's nice to see us play a little differently. And it's nice to see us have some of those players who do step up when someone's getting fouled, and it's a different team, Mike. And we're learning that new system, but we're not letting the game get us down. And it's a typical Cardiff side where they wanted to be aggressive to start the match, and we didn't let them. Tom, I thought Lacazette in the first 45 minutes was sublime. Link-up play was brilliant. Had one off the post.
Mike, they're coming for you.
Save. Yeah, Mike, run.
I think they're coming for Lewis.
No, it was an ambulance.
Tom, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on finally seeing Lacazette in the starting 11.
I think it's excellent. I think that as I said when I joined you guys, his camaraderie with Aubameyang is very clear to see. It's nice when you've got a system where it looked as if only one of the pair would be starting, that they still were very much trying to boost each other's confidence. Remember last season when he gave the penalty away for Lacazette to score. Oh, we've got a little entrance there from Randy.
They're about to be two babies on the podcast now.
But I think when you're starting Lacazette and he's playing with Aubameyang, you get the best of both worlds. I think Aubameyang playing in the Premier League as a lone striker it's a tricky concept to work, especially in those away games, because he's not playing in that instance where he will be against the bigger sides where he gets to run in behind. We've got a lot of possession against a side like Cardiff. He's got to be more intricate. He's got to be more technical in his play. He's not going to be getting the through balls in behind to run onto as often as he would against one of the bigger sides, which we obviously have less possession and therefore play a counter-attacking style. With Lacazette, he is much better with the hold-up play. He is much better with the layoffs to Lacazette, to Aubameyang, or combining with Ozil to feed through Aubameyang for the finish, as we saw with the second goal. What you get from Lacazette is just a different sort of muscle that you don't get of Aubameyang. He gets pushed off the ball rather easily, as we saw against Man City last season in the Carabao Cup final, when Kompany just shoved him straight off the ball. You don't get that physicality with the Gabonese striker that you do with Lacazette. So when you've got those two playing in tandem, you get the best of both worlds, and you're a lot more frightening going forwards.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I don't see any truth to those rumors that started coming out that he was looking for a move away. I mean, that's just clickbait bullshit. But
yeah, clickbait. So we see Cardiff equalize. So much wrong on the goal. We'll start with Xhaka. He tries to ping a crossfield pass from Bellerin. It takes a slight curve. It
takes a slight curve. It went directly to the defender, to the other team.
It curved.
It curved. That's what she said.
You know what I love? I live in Denver, Colorado, thousands of miles from the Emirates, and my neighbor's son Trey is outside on his bike in his Arsenal kit. Fucking love it. He's 5 years old. Great parenting. So we see them equalize. A lot wrong with the goal. For me, there's more to blame than Xhaka. I mean, it's a poor pass, but then I think Guendouzi could have done more to close down. Hector could have done more to not allow that cross, and then God knows what Monreal was doing. I don't know if he thought the first header away was going to happen, but there was just a lot of statues in the box. Mike, it was just poor all around, and we keep seeing it. It's like the only time teams ever seem to score on us is when we're making multiple errors and mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no just wow, you could never have stopped that even if you tried type of moments. It's always
outside of the goal against City, where it was Mendy just scoring that beautiful goal. I haven't seen another goal that we've conceded where I'm like, you can't stop it.
It's all that's. I mean, that's the soundtrack to every goal that we give up. But it brings up an interesting point, and I know I'm going to run into a brick wall with the Xhaka fans here. But look, I have no agenda pro or against Xhaka. And I remember I'm not the one who has the anti. I like Xhaka. I have his kit. I remember a goal last year where, and I don't remember who was against, but Mustafi, suddenly thought he was Cristiano Ronaldo. Does an overhead kick from his own defensive end into the center of his own defensive end. And then like 20 seconds goes by, including Koscielny heading the ball a million miles into the air, then like diving in on an opponent, and then ultimately they scored. And I remember talking to certain somebody who was like, yeah, Mustafi was at fault for that. If he doesn't do that, if he just clears it out of bounds, the whole thing never happens. So now we come to today where Xhaka just
you wanted Xhaka to just kick that ball out of bounds?
No, maybe upfield or to a player in red. But look, I mean, bad passes happen. I'm not saying that's that he's the only one to ever pass. I mean, Czech did it 5 times today, but.
How is it? Do you know who I blame for this goal? Do you know who I blame for this goal? His name is Lewis, and this is why. Because like 25 minutes into the match, Lewis says something about Xhaka, so I come to his defense, and then 2 minutes later, Xhaka makes that pass, and
that was poorly timed in our chat. Everyone's getting
I'm sorry about that, but Xhaka doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. When he's got his back turned and he has to find a pass, like he gets caught on the ball quite a lot on the half turn. I've noticed that with him, and if he could just get that out of his game, he's a very, very, very good player. It's just that he's unfortunate to be the one that gets caught out all the time, and then we don't actually do enough work off the ball to try and rectify the error made.
Tom, a lot of people are hating on Xhaka, and you and I come to his defense quite often. Tell me, in your opinion, out of this, like if we were to drop him, who is the natural replacement? Because for me, Torreira and Guendouzi are too defensive-minded, and we both know Xhaka is not that, and he is more pinging and sprinting the passes. So do you drop Ramsey back, or like who do you replace him with?
It's a really interesting question. I think that it completely depends on not just who you replace Xhaka with, but who actually is going to play that number 10 role behind the 3. Because if you go with someone like Ramsey, he gives you more energy in midfield. He gives you the ability to play someone more offensive-minded than, say, if you were to put Ozil there. If you were to put Ozil at number 10, I think then you're going to put someone like Guendouzi and Torreira together to give you more of that defensive stability. If you play Ramsey there with his energy and his ability to track back, I think you can go with someone like even an Iwobi or a Mkhitaryan in a more central role, playing next to Guendouzi. That still gives you a lot going forwards and does annoyingly give you a sense of fragility and vulnerability at the back as well, because you've got 2 very attacking-minded players with Guendouzi, who, whilst, yes, is a deep-lying playmaker in sorts, but he's not an out-and-out defensive midfielder. So for my perfect solution to it, I'd play Xhaka and Torreira together because I really want to see that pairing sort of tried and flourish. I really like seeing what Guendouzi's doing. If that means playing the 3 of them all together, you put Torreira behind Guendouzi and Xhaka to give Xhaka that security and really let him be able to do what he's best at, which is spreading the play, pinging those balls in, having shots from outside the box and being more offensive, instead of giving all the pressure onto him of being this guy that's the last man back, too slow to get back when he does lose the ball or plays a stray pass, which I think even the people like us who are strong defenders of the guy could admit he's got a few stray passes in him. The fact that he's got that security behind him would mean it wouldn't be as detrimental to our defensive stability. And if you're going to play over midfield with Xhaka in, I'm just praying that eventually it comes into Emery's head that he needs someone defensive next to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely agree.
So in the first half, Arsenal allow about 462 shots. Thankfully, most of them went over the top of the goal. But I mean, allowing 1 out of 462 is not bad. I mean, it's a good. Kill me now. All right, so let's get to the second half. A very important thing happened at halftime, and it wasn't in the dressing room. It was in Denver. Ollie wakes up.
He does.
He wakes up. I get a picture of him stirring in his crib from the video monitor. And, Ollie arrived on the scene a little over 15 months ago.
And
and immediately Arsenal started winning.
During a match.
Yeah, during a match. Like there was afterbirth on his phone while he was watching the game against Sunderland, I believe. So Ollie's good luck. Let's just put it that way.
There is. And there's nothing more terrifying, Mike, than when your baby wakes up and you check the monitor and he is staring directly into the camera, looking at you with the eyes all shiny because of the night vision. There's nothing more terrifying.
Oh, there is, and it's going to happen very soon. Where you look in the baby monitor and the baby is not in the crib, and then he comes walking into the room. Yeah, that was he climbed out of the crib and walked into the room, and now he's 15 and he still climbs out of his crib. So 60th minute, Aubameyang, just a beautiful passing combination from the world's greatest player, Mesut Ozil, to Lacazette, who does his best Giroud impression, just a little no-look layoff, beautifully touched pass to Abba, and my God, like John Champion said here on our telecast, that was a striker's finish. It's great to see him get off the mark this season, but you think, Lewis, there's any chance that Emery puts those two out there again against Newcastle next time?
Well, with Newcastle, I noticed they're starting to play 5 at the back against like the stronger side, so it would be a lot better and a lot nicer to have them both up top together. I've been screaming for them to play up top together because to me it doesn't make sense to have one of your better strikers just sitting on the bench and then trying to chase after a game. You know, why don't we go for it from the offset? And today, thankfully, the gamble paid off. And that partnership needs to grow more on the pitch rather than off of the pitch.
I don't see it as being that big of a gamble, honestly. I mean, it does involve you having to make changes to your other personnel, but I mean, again, I'm an idiot tactically. I know that, but at some point, isn't it just when you have two prolific strikers like that, who want to play together, doesn't it kind of just make sense to have those two the first names on the team sheet and figure it out from there? I mean,
only Emery. Sorry, Tom. Go on.
No, it's fine. Go for it, Lewis.
Only Emery knows why he played Aubameyang up top on his own and not Lacazette. I mean, only he knows that, and I'm quite happy that they've both proven that they can work together, on the pitch, and it's going to give him more of a selection headache going into Newcastle's game.
Well, I'd rather have selection.
There's nothing today that pointed out the two of them shouldn't be on the pitch together.
Not quite the opposite. And you got to love the 5-minute makeout sesh between the two of them and Guendouzi after the goal. I mean, it was just for like 5 minutes, just a pile of hair and tongues all over the place. It was I love it. But there we go again, though. I mean, you think the game is on the way to being won at that point, and whether you feel it should have been a free kick or not, and my God, they didn't fucking touch him. Did not touch him. We got made to look like chumps by the worst Premier League team in a long time, Andy. How do we concede that easily off of a free kick, which was almost identical to the one in the 94th minute, which had me like.
It's like we have lead weights in our boots before when these balls are in the air. Like we literally are not jumping. I don't know if we're getting confused with marks or what, but it's that first ball that we're not attacking and being aggressive on. And I'm not sure. It's very bizarre. Again, it's like.
Is it unusual to see Ramsey out there marking the man who's getting the ball?
Again, it's like. Appreciate him being back there, but when you have an obvious target man for the entire match, and clearly the last couple matches for Cardiff, they're probably looking to play him. Tom, shouldn't a Socrates or Mustafi be marking him?
I mean, yes.
All right, good answer. Next, no, I'm just kidding.
I can't understand how often we see a player pull back to the penalty spot and they're completely free. It happens in so many games. It's a joke. It happened in obviously, as we're talking about here, the equaliser for the second goal. It happened against Manchester City in the first game when Bernardo Silva peeled away and smashed that shot into the top left-hand corner. It happens so often. It's genuine. It's the amount of goals that we scored against Chelsea, or should have scored against Chelsea, but with that same tactic, because both us and Chelsea have this seemingly juvenile act of leaving this space so free and unmarked in that area. I still haven't worked out, I don't know if you guys can even enlighten me on it, whether Unai Emery's continued with the zonal marking tactic at corners or not. Does it look more man marking to you, or is it still zonal?
I mean, there's more conversation happening in the box with players pointing at, hey, take this mark. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard. I can't pinpoint and say specific. Yeah, I see it or I don't. You're right. It's still very confusing. Lewis.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's almost like they're caught in between the old manager's tactical zonal marking and going man to man. I personally would rather go man to man, because then if your man scores, you're at fault and you have to take the blame. I prefer that, but it's down to Emre, and for him to go away on Monday and look through the tape footage and say, right, lads, this is what I want you to do, and make it a little bit more clearer. So when we do go back into the next game, touch wood, we should start seeing an improvement defensively.
Well, I hadn't finished throwing a strop about the second goal yet, and just didn't notice Torreira come in the game. But I was glad to see him come in, I guess, for Guendouzi, and just within a few minutes, he's making a mark already. I mean, a simple but perfectly weighted ball through to Lacazette. Again, like you said before, Tom, what a finish! I mean, we have, like I said, 2 world-class strikers in my mind. And, you can keep your Lewandowskis, your Agueros, your Suarez's. I mean, not only that, but we're not signing any of those guys. So I'll take the 2 that we have. And just the joy on their faces after that goal. I mean, the first one was the makeout sesh. The second one is them just, like, walking down. I look at that stuff. That makes a big difference to me, how happy they look.
Yeah, body language is huge.
It's a little silly because you'd rather score 8 goals and have terrible body language than – concede 2 goals and have great body language. But look, they look happy, and happiness leads to success in my mind.
Yeah, and here's what I thought when both goals went in. Is the Aubameyang goal, as a keeper, I watched it and I thought that goalie knew exactly when Aubameyang was gonna shoot, and you just cannot do anything about it. I mean, every keeper that's decent in mind knew that shot was coming, and you just become flat-footed. And then when the Lacazette goal went in, again, you're thinking as a keeper, near post, he literally stood there like a statue. And that's what 2 world-class strikers should bring to your team, is the goals where a keeper knows exactly what's going to happen, but the ball still hits the back of the net. And we're extremely lucky to have both of them. And it's great to see them both get on the score sheet, especially Aubameyang with his first goal of the season. It's just going to bring confidence. But if those 2 can rip roar, I don't care how bad our defense is, we will outscore opponents.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of 6 or 7 total goal games. I just hope we're coming out on the right side of them. Roller coaster time. Andy, first of all, we're gonna be joined by one more person in just a minute, and I'll explain why when he gets on. But before we do that, you tweeted out a very interesting stat today about the number of total fouls versus cards. I mean, the referee had an absolute mare, but I wanted to ask you where do you – I mean, the statistics were amazing. Where'd you get those from?
I made them up.
I mean, the point was pretty clear. A lot of the fouls weren't leading to cards when it was theirs. But
it was very strange to me. Like, yeah, the ref had a nightmare, but it was like why did it take Cardiff 70 minutes to see their first yellow? I mean, there was a clear like – tactical decision for them to foul us whenever we were going forward and break up our momentum. I don't know why it took the referee so long. I mean, it was just very bizarre. We had 2 on the book before they even had 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very strange. It was a terrible refereeing thing, and ultimately it didn't cost them the decision of the match, but it was bad.
Yeah, we needed Arsene Wenger back to like shove him around.
It was a typical Warnock side, wasn't
it? Yeah. So. Let's talk about this while we wait for Tony to come on. Mesut Ozil, not particularly overwhelmingly strong of a game today, but I mean we've talked about this so much in our offline discussions. I've made it clear that I think that there is legitimately something physically / emotionally going on with him, either severe mental depression not mental depression, depression or anxiety, or an autoimmune disease like Crohn's or something like that. Now, does that mean that I'm excusing every little transgression or trying to figure out, and excuse everything that's going on? No. But I do believe that there's something going on. But there did seem to be some legitimacy lended to the theory that he had not a bust up, but a discussion with Emery about his positioning. Like, will he be guaranteed the number 10? Clearly not. Will he be guaranteed a start? Clearly not. So, Tom, let's hear your views. I'm sure you've expressed them on your own show, but I mean, what do we see out of Mesut Ozil for the rest of this season?
It's a great talking point, and it's one which continuously enthralls our group chat every single day. But I think it's
9,000 messages.
Yes, with Mesut Ozil, I think he obviously, because he's on this £300,000 or £350,000 a week contract, he was our record signing when we bought him. That's naturally going to give you an element of you have to play well. You have to be the man who's pulling the strings every single game for 90 minutes. Otherwise, you're going to get slated for it. And it was interesting because a discussion which happened in our chat today, which basically boiled down to the fact of saying what constitutes a good season for Mesut Ozil. I don't know if it's the Tony that's about to join us, but the Tony in our chat was talking about how he believes that it was 8 goals and 12 assists, which should be the comeback for Ozil every single season. And I looked into it, and I looked into every single season. What's better is if I actually get the stats up for you now. And he has been fairly consistent. His first season for Arsenal in 2013-14, he got 7 goals and 14 assists. The year after, in which he was plagued by injury, only managed 22 Premier League appearances, he got 5 goals and 9 assists. The season after that, 8 goals, 20 assists, which is best return in terms of assists. The season after that, 16-17, 12 goals and 14 assists. And the last season, which was an absolutely awful season for us, was 5 goals and 14 assists. So, as you see there, you've got a range of statistics showing he is giving us a good return each season for Arsenal, and one which people who are very, not, I'm going to say angry, but they criticise the guy a lot, are saying he needs to be returning, and he is. Every single season. I'd like some more from him, as I'm sure everyone would, and I'd like to see him putting his stamp on the game more than his lackadaisical style shows that he does on the pitch. When it comes down to what you were mentioning about, is it depression, is it a bust up with the manager, I think he is a very driven person to do well. I have no doubts about that whatsoever, and I think if he wants to play the number 10 role, just like he wanted the number 10 shirt after Jack Wilshere there, he'll go out and he wants to try and get that. He's not getting that at the moment, which I sort of understand, because Ramsey's been in good form for us playing in that number 10 role and has been very energetic. His combinations with Monreal on that left-hand side when he drifts over have been absolutely excellent. But Ozil was always going to be that type of guy, which is going to be an issue for everyone because of his price tag and because of his weekly wages.
Yeah. I want to say, I want to echo what Tom was saying, Mike. Half of our fan base need to point a finger at someone, and as Tom alluded to, when you have the highest wages, you're going to be the scapegoat. If Ozil threw his gloves on the ground and yelled at other players when he wasn't past the ball, or they didn't finish the run that he played that through ball, our fan base would say, well, he cares more than everyone else, because that's what everyone was doing with Sanchez. And when Sanchez left this club, no players went on social media to say, hey, good luck, we're going to miss you, because he was a cunt. You don't see that with Ozil. You see him in the groups and training sessions smiling and laughing. People like him as a player. And so for me, you're going to get that scapegoat because it's the same with Germany. When things don't go well, everyone points to Ozil. They've got a star-studded lineup, and everyone points to him because 5 out of the last 6 years, he's been the German Player of the Year.
Yeah.
For like it or not, he is probably one of the best number 10s in the world, and we have him. And all these people keep going, well, he's overrated, we pay him too much, fuck him, let's push him off. Those same people, if he would have left not signing a new contract, would have been, we're not a good enough club, we don't have the ambition. You can't have it both ways. And yeah, as Tom said, I want to see more out of him, but we're lucky to have a player of his caliber on this team, and whatever he has going on outside of on the pitch is up for him. If he is battling whatever, I would love for him to come out and just own it and say, hey, I have these problems, But I don't think the bust up happened. If rumors are true, Emery tried to sign him at PSG. We got to work him into this system and into this squad. And he isn't a player of Ramsey's stature where he's going to chase down everything and have that energetic style. We're still figuring it out. But, Mike, I think a lot of the Boo Boys would change their opinions if he threw his gloves on the ground and was yelling at people. That's not him. And I'm getting sick of it. I don't know. As I said after today's game, we win. It's not pretty, but we win, and everyone needs to point fingers at who's to blame for doing something. It's like, fucking enjoy the 3 points. We're 2 for 2 after those tough 2 matches. We've got winnable games in front of us. Let's support the 11 that are on the pitch. Let's give Emery the time, and let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, boy. Come on. No, I agree, and it's. I just wish we could figure out how to pick the lock of Mesut Ozil. It's either play, it's off it's this impossible combination lock, and we got to figure out how to make it work or figure out how to move on from it. But I mean, I agree with you. I'd rather have him on our team than not. But he's going to have controversy follow him wherever he goes, and it's not just the Boo Boys that are causing that to be the case. He has just found himself in controversial situations, and he's very outspoken most of the time through his agent. About those things, which some people like, some people think it contributes to it.
So here's the thing, though, Mike, and we got to look at this a little differently. Is Ozil's not just a football player; he's a brand.
Well, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
For like it or not, he has his own fucking label, and his own name is a brand. And we didn't see that with the Thierry Henrys, who could have easily had that because social media wasn't the presence when they were playing. But Ozil is a brand, and he brings more than just football with his name, and he brings baggage, and that we're not used to. We've never had a player that's well, no, you don't, but that's unfortunately what he is. And we have to live with that. So,
well, that is a downside because I see that as being the biggest problem with Paul Pogba. I see that as being
they bring a. No, you're right.
Messi and Ronaldo can be a brand. Okay, they can be a brand. I'll take them.
But
the other guys.
That's the way the world works, right? That's the way the world works.
All right. Well, here's the way the pod works. We're going to bring in a special guest. I love the
dropping people into the pod left and right.
Yes. Today we have a gentleman who I've had the good fortune of meeting a few times. His name is Tony Ritter. Hi, Tony.
Hey, guys.
And Tony is in Virginia Beach, Virginia right now, which is about 3.5 hours from where I am, just outside of Washington, D.C. He's got possibly the best background, although my background today is kicking some ass. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but Tony's got a great background. He's got scars, and he's with us today.
He's got scars.
He's got scars. It's a great
background. What you see, Mike.
Yeah, he's got a face. He's got a shirt. But it's an exciting reason that Tony's joining us today because for those listeners that aren't that familiar with Arsenal America and the supporters clubs and the way we operate, there's a national supporters club, but then there's also maybe like 75 to 100 local clubs scattered all over the states. Some are small, some are huge, and all of them have just gatherings of amazing numbers of Gooners, expats that have been over here, American Gooners who have taken up the game in the last 30, 40 years. And, I've met a ton of people at these pubs, at the supporters clubs. There's just people meeting and getting married. There's people having sex in pubs all over the country. I mean, it's just crazy over here. You guys got to move. But regional meetups, which is, I'm getting to the point of why Tony's with us today. Regional meetups have started to get popular. I mean, Gooner is the mother of all regional meetups, which has become national. But in the last few years, we've seen Midwest, we've seen Texas, and in the last few years, Virginia has a meetup, and it's just a great opportunity to meet other people from other branches. So we've got one coming up in a couple of weeks, Tony, which you are heading up, right?
That's for sure.
So what are we calling this one?
So Virginia has a state motto: Virginia is for lovers. And so we've taken a little spin on that, and it's Virginia is for Gooners. This will be our third year. I think you guys up in Northern Virginia hosted it last year. It started with Tom Rosenhammer, who's been a guest on your pod before from Richmond.
Yep.
And so it's our turn down at the beach to host everybody, and looking forward to a good weekend.
Have you ever had sex in a pub during an Arsenal game?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Okay. I mean, it's just, it's crazy, the fanship over here. Do you have a good sense from registrations about how many different supporters clubs have people coming? I mean, there's 3 in Virginia, 1 in DC, but are people coming from anywhere beyond just the local area for this?
Yeah, they definitely are. If you guys, you mentioned Gooner, I don't know if you remember Wilson from
from Dallas,
Texas. Yeah, he's coming. I think he was trying to get off of work. He's a coach and might come. We've got some folks coming from a number of different branches that I've heard of.
I hear there's going to be 485 people there. Is that are those the numbers we're expecting?
Say that again.
There's going to be the 485 people from all over the country there.
Oh yeah. Every branch will be represented now.
All right, so this is the part that makes me tingle a little bit. I mean, Andy, you like to talk about the kind of boners that you get, the fear boners, the regular boners, the shame boner. What's your favorite kind of boner?
What's my favorite boner? Oh, the fear boner.
The fear boner, yeah, you get a lot of those. This gave me a charity boner. So as many of these Gooner gatherings do, the hosting branch decides to have a charity tie-in for the event. And you've chosen a charity that I might have mentioned a few times on this podcast. So tell us, what you guys are doing to raise money and for whom.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We're doing a couple different things. We're a part of the event. We're selling Virginia's for Gooners shirts online. We've got a big military background here in the area, one of the biggest naval bases in the world this year. A lot of military folks, and they have something called challenge coins. So we've created cannon shaped challenge coins that we're going to be selling as well, and all the profits, the proceeds from the whole weekend are going to go for this fundraiser that somebody we know is doing called Gooners versus Cancer.
There's the kicker right there.
Yeah, raise awareness and fundraising for research against blood cancer. So we're really happy to be able to help support that cause that you're heading up, and appreciate what you're doing to bring light to it. And glad that we could play a part in that.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I hadn't mentioned it yet today, but Gooners versus Cancer for 2018 is going on for another couple of weeks. We've just had a really nice. I just keep seeing the donations come in, small, medium, large, doesn't matter. If you have not donated yet, please do. Just go to goonersversuscancer.com and just really appreciate your branch bringing awareness to this and raising money, which I will be there, and I will do as much as I can to help stir that up. So most people probably get in Friday, and the game is until Sunday morning. So, I mean, other than drinking, what else will people be doing over the weekend?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Friday night, for the people who do come in early, we're going to do like a little reception get together at our home pub, which is Froggy's on Shore Drive. They've got a live band playing that night, so it should be a good time. We haven't set everything for Saturday yet. One thing we're definitely going to do is do a big group photo down at we have a big 30-foot high King Neptune statue on the ocean front, so try to get a group photo down at the ocean front. We're talking about doing like a little pickup sand soccer, beach soccer game for folks who want to play, and those of us
football.
Who want to watch. Football, yes. All right.
That'll be fun, and I love going to new Arsenal pubs. I haven't been to yours yet, but I've been looking forward to it. Meeting people around the country, showing them how pregnant I look these days. I'm getting ready to burst. So what are the dates, and tell us again how you can find it online and register if you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, so it's the Everton match. September 23rd is that Sunday. So it's the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of September. So just a couple weeks out. And we have an event, Virginia's for Gooners event on our Facebook page for Virginia Beach Gooners. I think Arlington, DC Armory, and Richmond have all kind of shared that event. And then there's an Eventbrite site that we've got set up that folks can go on to and sign up and get their shirt and pick their size and order the additional Canon coin if they want.
Perfect. And obviously, if you want to find out any more about it and just want to reach out to us, I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. So we have user questions for today. Tony, stick around, please, and we'll try to get your feedback on a couple of them. But Andy, you want to get us started off, or just Ollie want to do it?
So we'll start with a question from Vish from a couple of weeks ago that we didn't have time to get to. Does Emery need to tweak his tactics in order to accommodate our fragile defense and midfield, or do you believe we just need to be patient while this team adapts to methods? Lewis, what do you think?
We lost Lewis.
Tom, what do you think?
That's what you meant to say.
I think it's going to take time. It's obviously going to take time. When you've got this system that we've been so used to for 22 years, being used at the club. I know that it hasn't remained so rigid over 22 years, but it's from the same man it's his methods that have been going in. Emery's coming in trying to create this high press where we play out from the back, which, yes, during the first 5 minutes and into beyond that, it was absolutely infuriating to watch that today when Cech was trying to pass out from the back. And we know that he's not the best goalkeeper to do that. We know that from what Bayer Leverkusen's Twitter account has told us, Leno is more than capable of doing something like that. So it is going to take time for the players to adapt to it. Thankfully, the new acquisitions, which is one of the reasons why I think he's actually started Guendouzi straight away, is that Guendouzi is one of his new signings. It's one of the guys who's come in who hasn't had the system that other players have known under Wenger. He's come in under Unai Emery, and all he knows at Arsenal Football Club is that system of Unai Emery. And so, therefore, he comes into the team playing a system which the other players are going to be completely new to. Whereas I'm not saying he would have had the same system at Lorient, but I think the point stands when you're talking about a player who's come in who's not had the time under Arsene Wenger to then suddenly have to change it to such a rigidly different style. So it is going to take time. We do have to be patient with it. I hate using the term free pass because it sounds so horrible in this commercialized world of football these days. But this season is going to be a period of transition, and we've just got to hope that it comes through in an efficient way.
Well, and also, Tom, to echo what you're saying is some of the players that have come in the summer are going to fit the system that Unai wants to play, right? I mean, they're purchased to fill in almost immediately. So, it's that's a weird thing for me not to see Torreira, and that's why I keep thinking it's got to be that language barrier, because he is being purchased to fit into the system that Unai has in his mind, and I can't see any other reason why he isn't starting, but for the language. Maybe you can say something different to that, but yeah, I'm not sure. It seems strange to me.
Andy, we got another question from Mobe Gooner, I believe.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't multitask it. And plus, I thought Tom was going to say something, so he's fucking grasping me.
Playing FIFA, mate. That's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, when they walk off the bus, it's just, it's great.
Oh, legendary.
Mike, from Mobe, do you think we will ever see the best of Kolasinac? Every time he seems to get up to speed, he gets injured again.
Well, let's see. I certainly hope so, because this shirt is absolutely worthless if he doesn't come back stronger than ever. Bought the shirt after the Charity Shield last year, Community Shield, whatever we're calling it these days, and let's just say it hasn't returned much on investment. But I don't know. I mean, the guy didn't seem like he was that fragile when he came here. He was just a beast, and then he's getting hurt every time he does come good. But I'm hoping he comes good. Otherwise, this will be the worst kit purchase since Nelson Vivas. He was a player I learned a lot more about in the last few days.
Hey, Tom, how did that poll end up?
Bellerin won. No matter what we're going to have you believe, Bellerin definitely won that poll.
Better fullback than Nelson Vivas. Oh, God.
Stupid thing that was.
Do you, Tony, do you hold out any hope for Kolasinac to regain a spot of any kind in this team?
I mean, maybe as a squad play, I don't see him, really breaking in too much. If he can get healthy and stay healthy long enough, I don't know that that he's going to get a lot of the time, especially if we're the style of play that Emery wants to play. I don't see it personally.
He does seem quite star-crossed by this point. It's disappointing because I wanted him to be the best free transfer since Saul Campbell, but I guess that's not going to happen. Rich Wilcox and Gator Gooner with a very similar question, both curious about why we are still not starting Torreira. And Andy, I know you have expressed your opinion on that very recently. Rich also asked, what is your beverage of choice for an 8:30 a.m. Eastern time start? So For me, I watched from home today, but normally it's just plain old beer. I drink one and then I spill one on somebody's shirt next to me. Sorry, Tom. But Andy, for you, the game started at 6:30 a.m. I'm assuming breast milk.
The first thing I did prepare was the milk, but no, for me it's coffee.
All right.
And I actually got up today, Mike.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Well, you asked for an early podcast start, and I figured, I should know my shit.
I should at least watch it because you didn't want to pull a Webby after all,
Yeah, so I set my alarm, and I woke up, and I will say this because he's on the podcast. The one thing I love about Tom is when he sends out the lineups via the Gooner Talk, because it's the first tweet I look for when I wake up early morning to see our starting 11. So keep it up, Tom. I love it.
You like waking up in the warm embrace of a Tom Canton.
I wake up with my morning boner, and I think of Tom right away.
Imagine how I am when I'm getting constant tweets for about why is Czech and Jack are starting all the time.
Be careful, because if Tom was 2 years younger, that would be illegal, dude.
Oh.
Okay. Next, but why are we still not starting Torreira? Let's get your opinion on it, Tom, because we know that Andy thinks it's got to be the language at this point.
It's probably because we're the same age. In fact, I'm a year older than him, so you can do one for that.
2 feet taller.
Yeah, 2 feet taller, definitely. I think in the case of Torreira, it is as simple a fact as the bloke's coming from a background where he doesn't speak any of the language, as Guendouzi speaks a little bit of it. He's coming from playing into the latter stages of the World Cup. And I know we've seen the likes of Walker and Sterling come straight in after playing a third-place playoff for England in the World Cup, but they're very, very different players. They obviously use the Premier League. They do speak English, most definitely. Well, Kyle Walker tries to. And then you've got a guy in Lucas Torreira who is not just going to have to adapt to a different league, but a league in which he's against people twice his height, because Serie A isn't going to put you as much under pressure on the ball as what the Premier League does. It's different. In terms of physicality, you get a lot more time on the ball than you do in Serie A, and a guy like Torreira needs to adapt a lot more slowly, considering his physical prowess, than what a lot of other players do when they're coming into the team. What I'm liking, though, is that Unai Emery is giving him a lot of minutes on the pitch. It isn't a case of where we're bending him by bringing him on in the 80th or the 75th minute, like Wenger would have done with a lot of previous signings. He's coming on at half-time like he did against Chelsea. He's coming on just after we conceded against Cardiff, which was obviously around the 60th minute. And it's good to see him getting a lot of minutes. And hopefully he's waiting for the point where we can start him without risk against the sides like Brentford or in a Europa League game. I'm hoping it's a lot sooner than that. I was sort of hoping it'd be today, but from the feeling I'm getting from his liking of Guendouzi and Xhaka playing together is that we are going to have to wait for a cup competition before we see Lucas Torreira and Stefan Lichtsteiner get their real starts for the club. And to be honest, if we keep winning and playing, because we've picked up a decent amount of form after winning these last 2 matches, I am okay with the fact that he might not start the next game. And if he doesn't, so be it. But I'm just hoping that he keeps bedding in, he keeps getting used to the players around him and keeps learning the language. And eventually we will see the best from him.
Yeah, hopefully he does a better job at learning the language than Gabriel did. But Tony, you were at the pub this morning. Was there a beverage of choice for you at 8:30 a.m.?
Yeah, definitely. I'm like Andy. I started with coffee. I have a rule for early morning games. I don't have beer until halftime, and at the stroke of halftime, I had
12 beers. Bola brought out like a dozen beers from the bar at halftime. All right, so you go sober for the first half. Like, I have to give it up to Lee Judges for last week. He was in New York. It was a little bit out of his normal comfort zone. We got to the pub at 8 for a 10 o'clock game, and he did have a beer. He was nursing it. I'll be honest, but when in Rome, do what the Romans do, I suppose. So props to Lee for that. Tokyo Gooner asks. We got 2 questions left. Tokyo Gooner asks, it's been 5 years since Arsenal signed Ozil. What's your best and worst memory related to him? Who's got one? Best or worst?
Best memory is when we signed him.
Because it's all gone downhill from there? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, I mean, at the time, we were kind of in that weird, no one wants to come to Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. And we pulled off, I think, a major coup getting him. I think he's a fantastic player. And, I'm not I'm not saying that there's different supporters, right? Jump on the players and pick. I love Ozil. I got him on my kit this year. I think he's a wonderful player for us. And as Tom said, there's a minimum, and he matches that. And I think if you put him statistically against the David Silva, he's right up there. I think the worst memory related to him is the current situation we're in with him, because the expectations are just way too high, and I hate that we always have to have a finger point issue. And he's the player who he is, and we have to get used to that. And Mike, I'm just I think 5 years from now, when he doesn't play for Arsenal, or 8 years from now when he's not an Arsenal player, and I think we look back and go, we're lucky to have a player like him. So I'll take that.
I hope so. Anyone else want to chime in about either their best or worst memories of Mesut Ozil?
I can. Yeah, I mean, my best memory is a little personal. My wife and I spent our 20th wedding anniversary in London and watched the Arsenal play for the first time, and Ozil had an assist and a goal in that game, and it was a fantastic memory. It was a fantastic trip. So that was definitely my favorite Ozil moment for sure. And then I'm like Andy. I think his current situation is really. It bothers me that how negative people get very quickly with him. I'd like to see him try a little bit more and impact some games a little bit more, but the negativity around it is just, I think it's bad for us as supporters and bad for the club. So I'd like to see him get a little bit more have a little bit more patience with him at times.
Tom, we actually sat together and watched him score a sublime goal, although we couldn't
to bring that up.
We couldn't see it at all.
With a crushed knee, I sat at the front and then at halftime moved to sit with you because
Why
the front.
Was your knee hurt, Tom? I'm not sure.
Because I had an operation. If you didn't know, I had my ACL fixed. But
we haven't talked about that nearly enough the last year and a half.
No, we haven't. But no, it was a case where if you're at the Emirates and you're sitting in the North Bank, never sit in the front row. Even with fixed knees, it is painful to sit there. But yeah, that goal was definitely a high point. But I think the most memorable thing for Ozil was the assist for Olivier Giroud against Aston Villa. I think it was when he did that backheel flick in midair on the half volley, which was sublime. And I mean, the most annoying thing is, beyond his record against the big sides in Europe, which bemoaners love to keep bringing up, is his unfortunate when he hit the post in the cup final against Chelsea, when it was a very tidy finish that was available, and he hit the post. And if he had scored that goal, I think it would have definitely boosted his confidence quite a lot, and maybe puts a couple of hoodoos away. But yeah, I love his ability and what he's about. So you'll never get me slating the guy off. So.
But he's shit, so I just sell him to a European side.
Who's that?
I don't know, but he's at a pub right now, I'm pretty sure. All right, so our last question is very similar to the last one, but it's just for you and me, Andy. Jonas from Belgium asks us a very similar question. After 100 episodes, what is your best and worst moment so far? This is our 101st episode, our second century, but Andy, you want to go first, or you want me to?
No, yeah, I'll go first. Whilst I loved having some of the ex-Arsenal players on, it's honestly been the relationships we've built through this pod. I mean, we would never have met Tom.
I'm so sorry.
Half of the guys in our group chat that we're in, and we're lucky enough, Mike, that we've gotten to go over and I've gotten to have drinks and party with Tom and go to a match with him, and just all the other people we've met.
You should try spilling beer on his shirt.
I was going to say the worst memory is meeting Mike and spilling a beer over my shirt.
He's the best guy to spill a beer on because he just won't do anything.
Yeah, and nice. I don't think there is a worst moment for me so far.
Oh, I can think of one.
Well, I think the worst moment is last season, when about 70% of the way through, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore because you keep talking about the same thing over and over again. And poor Mike was just texting me like, "Come on, dude, give me a time you can pod. Like, you gotta get this done." People
we would have had 24 episodes instead of 45 last year if I hadn't dragged him onto the internet.
So there's my answer, Mike. The worst part is me being a bitch to you.
The best part is Tom Canton. I'll accept that. I was going to say the worst part is it has to be our 16th podcast, known as the food poisoning episode. the one where Andy had to spend 8 hours editing, so I would only sound like really drunk instead of like death-defyingly drunk. It was the Bournemouth game, 3-0 win. Got a little too happy at the pub, and then came home and kept going, and then thought I could do a professional podcast. But what were some of the highlights of that podcast? How many times did I fall asleep during the podcast?
I don't know. I just remember there was a moment where I was like, Mike, and you're like, yeah, El Nini. I'm not even sure El Nini played in that game.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he did, but I could be wrong. But yeah, no, I wish you had the original unedited tape for that. We would release it now, and then I would be sent to jail. But that was probably my worst moment. And then the best moment, again, it's not things that happen on the pod. I mean, last week talking to Alan Smith for an hour was unbelievable. Talking to Kevin Campbell, Amy Lawrence, all that. But the two things, one was the Kevin Campbell night at the pub. I mean, that 6 months ago, that was just the highlight of my time as an Arsenal supporter, because I never anticipated meeting players, hanging out with them, having one buy me a beer and laugh with me for and my age for 4.5 hours. So that was a thrill. The other one I'd have to say was in Milan. Me and the legendary Joey Murphy just holding court in the Duomo Square, having beers, and then Amy Lawrence just coming up to us and hanging out for an hour, just chilling with Amy Lawrence, talking Arsenal, and seeing Joey lose his shit for an hour, because Joey loves Amy. He's his favorite. She's her favorite writer. He's mentioned that over and over again, and he was just starstruck talking to her. He kept offering her the Denver Gooners scarf and like demanding that she take it. She's like, no, you keep it. But I mean, that was just a thrill, because I mean, it just reminds me that this whole global Arsenal network is an amazing one. So that's a great question, Jonas. It's been a fun 100 episode, and hopefully Andy will join me for a few more without having to be dragged out of bed in the morning. But so that's about it for this week. Another 3 points. We're up to 9th in the table on goal difference. Could have been up to 6th if we had scored one more goal. But
we don't have another match for 13 days, Mike.
Yeah, we're headed in the right direction, and as we always are when we're headed in the right direction, we now have an international break, which means more than likely an interlull podcast next week, which is always a fun time. But
being injured.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. We don't have as many internationals as we used to get injured. So we'll see. But if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. We're really working this year on expanding our YouTube reach, although we're now 2 out of 4 pods where we haven't been able to get the intended guest on. But so thank you for joining us, Lewis, who disappeared, and for Tom joining us on short notice. Tony as well for coming on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the boys and girls 2 weeks from now in Virginia Beach. And give the video a thumbs up. Makes Andy happy to have a thumb up. Just about anything. Anything else you want to add, gentlemen? Was that the worst moment of the second 100 episodes for you?
Yeah, you're going into the second 100 on fire.
Yeah, I'm off to a good start already. Well, Tom, thank you. Where can you be found on a regular basis with your internet presence?
With a dry shirt on away from you.
As far as possible.
You can find me at the Gooner Talk, at the Gooner Talk TV, which will have a show on. I mean, this is pointless because I don't have to even be uploaded by 9 o'clock tonight, but we're on live at 9 tonight, so UK time that is. So yeah, check us out for our reviews of the shows.
Fantastic. And Tony, when's your next podcast?
Yeah, this is the second one. I'm waiting for offers. I've got a long list. I'm trying to decide who's going to be next.
He's very selective with who he joins.
Yes, and the most important part is that he has scarves.
Yeah.
Let's see the scarves. You got to say something, Ted. Let's see the scarves one more time.
All right. I'm all over the place.
There we go.
Joey, you got to get this guy a Denver Gooner scarf. God damn it.
Yeah, you can give the one. Tell Joey to give him the one that he wanted to give to Amy. He was trying to force down Amy Lawrence's throat. All right, so it'll be next week. Hopefully, we'll get some good people on instead of the people. No, I'm just kidding. So that's about it.
Congrats on the 100 episodes, guys.
Thank you, and we'll see who appears over my shoulder next week. I have a feeling it will be somebody that we might have seen on the pod today. You never know. All right, guys. Have a great week, and come on, you Gooners.
Take care, guys.